Tonight on CTV News, diversity demonstrations on the plaza have people talking about social identity. Plus a look at the Powwow put on by the Native American Culture Center on campus.
Sports anchor Olivia Landis visits the CSU Disc Golf Club sport and learns more about the nationally ranked team. All this plus weather and sports. Good evening, I'm Grace Reeder.
And I'm Emma Anacone, filling in for Carson Bushjost. Protests were held all day throughout campus today to protest collegiate opinion article titled "On the Topic of White Privilege." The demonstrators were out to raise awareness and education about social identity.
Recognize your head start. Come on, people, have a heart.
Protesters and demonstrators took CSU's campus by storm today, voicing their opinion about a collegiate article on the topic of white privilege. The opinion article discusses how white privilege is not necessarily true in America, and that people should rather use the term American privilege, where all people with different social identities are given the same opportunities. But demonstrators do not agree.
It upset a few people because it didn't fully capture the spectrum of what it really means to have privilege and not have privilege.
Emma Roust from Social Work explains her thoughts on privilege.
You have sometimes an advantage that you might not be aware of, that you're just born with, and it makes you, like me as somebody who's white, I'm safer if I run into a police van than some other people. But as a woman, I'm not as safe at night as some men.
The main goal of the demonstration was to educate about diversity and discuss how some people are born with traits that gives them advantages.
So many different social identities, and some of those identities may leave us feeling marginalized or privileged. It's a spectrum. It's not that you're one or the other. And when you have more privilege, we want people to become aware and become allies and understand what it is.
The publicity around the opinion article was unforeseen, with hundreds of comments and tweets by people voicing their own opinions of the piece, both negative and positive. Collegiate opinion editor Haley McGill wants people to remember it was just an opinion article.
As unpopular as it was, it's not a very good reflection of the publication as a whole, just because so many different things come out of the opinion desk that you can never really, be like, oh, that's what the collegian thinks.
She also believes the protests and publicity, in the end, may generate some good from it.
None of this stuff would have happened, and I think it's a really important conversation for the campus to have, because clearly people had really strong feelings and opinions about it that they weren't talking about.
The collegiate article and demonstration on the plaza has certainly seemed to increase discussion on the topics of social identity. If you'd like to express your opinion on the topic, you are encouraged to email letters@collegian.com.
ASCSU and CSU are contributing more money. Over the first half of 2015, both the Denver-Boulder-Greeley Consumer Price Index and transport bus ridership have increased. Due to this overall increase, ASCSU must pay an additional $8,000 this year. That means the total amount that ASCSU must pay transport is over $828,000 for the 2015-16 school year. CSU is transport's second largest source of revenue, with the city of Fort Collins being first. Fort Collins provided transport with $7.9 million in 2014.
CSU has been placed on the Platinum Bicycle-Friendly University list. CSU is one of the only 5 universities to be recognized by the League of American Bicyclists. The university has more than 23,600 bikes registered on campus. The many amenities for riders on campus have added to the CSU's commitment to bicycling on campus.
Larimer County saw a decade-low voter turnout this week. According to the Larimer County Clerk and Recorder Angela Myers, 39.53% of registered voters casted ballots. While the voter turnout is low, Fort Collins residents did show big support for ballot issue 2B on Tuesday. A Fort Collins-specific initiative, the measure allows City Fort Collins to pursue plans to provide municipal broadband services. Ballot 2B passed with 83% of the vote.
The proposed budget for the 2016 fiscal year by Governor Hickenlooper comes with some significant cuts. The state budget will chop $373 million in total, $20 million of which will be cut from higher education. CSU in particular will see a loss of $3.78 million. CSU President Tony Frank addressed the cuts in an email to students and staff, stating that if the budget passes, he will look into deferring and reallocating costs.
The CSU Native American Cultural Center has been busy at work to host the countless events they'll be hosting for Native American Heritage Month. Traditionally, the month starts with an annual powwow, where many Native American tribes gather and celebrate their heritage. On Saturday, the Native American Cultural Center kicked off their Native American Heritage Month with an annual powwow.
We typically kick off the month with our big powwow. It's a fairly large event. It's one of the biggest powwows in this region around this time. So definitely has a lot of draw from Fort Collins community members, students, as well as even in the Denver area.
The event is meant to remember and celebrate heritage, as well as to teach students, staff, and community members a little bit about what a powwow looks like. There will be many events going on during the month to celebrate Native American heritage. One of those events is a hip-hop concert on November 12th.
Frank is a Lakota hip-hop artist, and he was actually featured on MTV's Rebel Music this summer.
There will be plenty of other events during the month, so be sure to check them out. All events are free and open to the public. To see exact dates and times of events, visit www.nacc.colostate.edu. Coming up next, Sierra Cymes with the latest Fort Collins weather forecast.
She'll let us know if this warm weather will stick around. Stay tuned.
Tune in to KCSU, your student-run radio station at Colorado State University. Live 24 hours a day, every day at 90.5 FM and kcsufm.com. Live local new music now, and news, talk, and sports. KCSU, the radio voice of Colorado State, on the air since 1964.
You're watching CTV, produced by Colorado State University students, bringing you news, weather, sports, and entertainment from campus and beyond. CTV live Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. on campus and Fort Collins on Channel 11. Repeats at midnight, 8 a.m., noon, and 2 p.m.
The Rocky Mountain Collegian is your student-run news and information platform. Pick up your paper on campus or around Fort Collins Monday through Thursday with special editions Fridays. And check out collegian.com anytime for all the latest updates. News, sports, entertainment, opinion, and more. The Rocky Mountain Collegian, serving Colorado State since 1891.
Welcome back from the break with your weather. I'm Sierra Cymes. It is currently 33 outside with just a few clouds. Very low chance of precipitation now and for the future forecast, which is exciting to hear. For tonight, teens along the western slope with a 9 in Telluride, 25 in Grand Junction. Up the I-25 corridor, mid to high 20s, 28 in Denver and Fort Collins. Along the eastern plains, low 21 in Lyman, high 20s in Sterling and Lamar. Burlington is going to be at 30. You can see we have a few freeze watches in southeastern Colorado as well as Grand Junction. But what exactly does a freeze watch entail? Well, it means these cities are expected to hold on to freezing temperatures anywhere from 2 to 5 hours overnight. Some effects of an overnight freeze can include damage to sensitive plants, frozen pipes, and sickness in livestock. Tonight and moving forward, more of Colorado will be experiencing freezing temperatures in the coming weeks. It is important to take preventative measures against the cold, cover or remove any plants which you may want to harvest in the winter months. Before any freeze, it is crucial to get your water out of your backyard hose so that it doesn't pop and when the ice expands. And finally, all livestock should have some place to protect themselves from the wind, which can make the temperatures feel 10 to 20 degrees cooler. Starting tomorrow, we're going to hold on to those chilly temperatures, 32 for your 8 a.m., moving into 45, gusty and cloudy and through 4 p.m., but those clouds and wind should clear away in the later evening hours. For the highs, low to mid 40s along the western slope, some 30s. Up the I-25 corridor, we are also seeing some high 40s, 54 in Pueblo. Along the eastern plains, some low 50s with a high 50 in Lamar. Looking into your 7-day forecast, a few clouds into Friday, and then it looks like the weather knows it is the weekend. The sun is going to break out Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. 40s and 50s for the highs over the weekend, but in the 20s for the lows. Take note of that and bundle up if you are going out over the weekend. Back into the work week and back come the clouds, but without any chance of these cold showers we've been experiencing. Personally, I think the sooner we get back into these winter temperatures, the better, because then the freezing rain that we've been seeing will turn into snow. That's all the weather I have. Coming up next, Olivia Landis with sports.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft. To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self, and I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
Welcome back from the break. I'm sports anchor Olivia Landis, here to fill you in on the latest in Rams sports. The then number 18 ranked Colorado State women's volleyball team dominated yet another win this past Saturday against Nevada, improving their record to 12-0 in the Mountain West. The undefeated Rams have now racked in 13 straight wins and have not lost since they traveled to Texas and came up short against Texas A&M in September. The 13-game winning streak is the 6th longest in the nation. The Rams now come in ranked 15th in the nation in the AVCA Division I coaches poll and hit the road to take on Air Force this Thursday and New Mexico on Saturday. If you're a fan of football and basketball, well, you're in luck. The CSU men's football team heads to Wyoming this Saturday for the annual Border War, whereas the men's basketball team looks to have its exhibition opener Saturday night as well. The basketball game is in Moby Arena and tip-off time will be at 7 p.m., so any football and basketball fan can have time to catch both games this weekend. Although many people enjoy hearing about the big revenue sports at Colorado State, club sports are equally as important. It may be surprising to some to know that not only is there a club disc golf team at CSU, but it has been ranked nationally for the past 6 years as well. The team president, Connor Mitz, has much to say about his inspiring team.
So you are currently the president for the disc golf team here at Colorado State, and how did you acquire that position? If you could just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so basically what we did is we did what we've done the last few years is we elected the officers. Last year we didn't really have anybody else who wanted to be president rather than Colin Hurley, who's our current coach. But this year we had a few more people wanting to get involved, so I just threw my name into the ring for the president. And ended up getting the most votes among the other club members for that position. So that's. Can
you tell me a little bit about the history and when you guys got started, especially this team now? I mean,
yeah. So the club got started when was it? Let's see, 6 years ago now. And it was just started by a guy named Austin Montgomery. He was a philosophy major at CSU. He now works actually for Discmania. He started that club, like I said, 5-6 years ago. Didn't know it was gonna get to this size. There were like 6 people originally. They went out to nationals. They got 14th their first year. They're like, wow, we could actually do something decent with this. The next year they came back. They won.
So you guys seem pretty consistent then. I mean, you guys, you said you've ranked nationally every year that you've been out. So how do you draw people in? How do you make people more aware of this sport?
It's kind of tricky. A lot of people don't want to take it as seriously as it should be taken. A lot of people just assume it's like something to go do on a Saturday when it's nice out in the park, which it is. It totally is. There's entirely a place for that. That's how I got started. But honestly, we haven't been drawing a lot of people to the school specifically for disc golf. It's more that we've been drawing the disc golfers in the school to the club.
So you mentioned earlier how there aren't a lot of local teams. You guys are one of the best teams locally. Who do you guys compete against, and how do you draw in that competition to stay so consistently good?
As far as local teams, like that competitive drive is just what we have to foster here so that we're successful when we get down to nationals. Because like I said, the closest team that really is worth competing against would be the University of Kansas or Kansas State. So we just don't have a lot of teams to compete against, which is why we're trying to talk to some other guys at these singles tournaments who we know go to other colleges around like Metro State and University of Wyoming.
Goal this year, is it to win nationals?
Well, as close as we've gotten over the past few years with the win in 2012, and then when we got second in 2013, we lost by 1 stroke, which still haunts me. Yeah, probably the only thing that's going to fix that is a win. Everybody's got their own motivation for wanting to win, and as long as you really want to be successful, I think you will be. As long as you're determined and you put your mind to it, anything is really possible.
If you or anyone you may know may be interested in joining the disc golf team, practices are Monday and Wednesday from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Glen Morris Fieldhouse. Or you can visit the website at www.csudiscgolf.com. That's all I have for sports tonight, but coming up next, entertainment with Gabe Pocrass. This week he spotlights a newly released collaboration beer from the New Belgium and Ben & Jerry's. Don't go away.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you? You know you do. That's why we're here. We're free and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Picking a college, man. You and us. Go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos. Go to GetSchooled.com.
Hello, fellow Rams. I'm entertainment anchor Gabe Pocrass. I've got all the entertainment your little Rammy hearts desire. So let's get started. The cold weather is right around the corner. New Belgium and Ben & Jerry's have teamed up to create a new beer for the cold months ahead. Here is this week's Beer Me with a sweet twist.
All right, let's dive right in. Tell me about the New Belgium Ben & Jerry's beer.
So yeah, this has kind of been a really fun project for us. We, about 8 months ago, we posted a picture on Instagram of a beer float, so ice cream with beer poured over it. And the guys at Ben & Jerry's reached out and they're like, hey, that's cool. Why isn't it Ben & Jerry's? And we said, well, that's a good point. So we started talking, and we're like, well, let's make a beer. And they're like, well, let's make an ice cream. And let's have the proceeds go to Protect Our Winters, which is actually an organization that works to bring awareness around climate change. And so we basically have been, we're going to donate probably close to $100,000 to that campaign, Protect Our Winters. And the beer itself is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You can see we've got some of that Ben & Jerry's branding on there.
Yeah, oh, of course.
Yep, and the old New Belgium logo, of course. But the beer, we started with the beer first. And
okay, but they created an ice cream for the beer, and you created the beer from the ice cream they created?
It's kind of a chicken and egg thing,
Yeah.
but basically we created the beer first.
Okay.
And with the beer, basically we had our assistant brewmaster, Grady, go ahead and try to make a brown ale.
Okay.
This is called Salted Caramel Brownie Brown Ale.
Okay.
And so in this beer you have caramel malts, you have chocolate malts that give you some of those roasty, chocolatey flavors. There's also vanilla bean and chocolate nibs in there, so you have true chocolate in there.
Yeah, ice cream flavors all over.
And the salt that's in there, actually, it doesn't come across as salt on your palate, but salt is like a flavor enhancer. So you're going to taste the chocolate a little more deeply because of the salt that's in the beer.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so kind of a little bit of a dilator, a flavor enhancer.
Yeah.
So we created the beer and we shipped it by the gallon back to the flavor guru at Ben & Jerry's, a guy named Eric, who's a wonderful guy. And he kept tasting and saying, I think you've nailed it. And then we did a very concentrated version of this beer for those guys to mix into their ice cream. And so now there's a caramel salted brownie ice cream that they're making. And the best thing in the world, and I don't have it with me today, is to dump the ice cream in there and the beer over the top.
Oh, I bet.
And you go to town from there.
And do a little beer float.
Yeah, and you would think that would be very sweet, but actually it's not like having root beer and ice cream. You know, the beer's got a little bit of hop to it, so it's a little more bitter, a little more dry.
Okay.
And it kind of knocks the sweetness off of that. So it's definitely an adult float, which is pretty cool.
Do they turn it over and leave the bottle in there? Is that like that? Or do they just
I guess you could, yeah.
Like
depends on what you're getting into. But no, basically what I've seen is like a big scoop in there and then a float, like a 50-50 deal.
Okay.
You can take it in a lot of different
So the options are endless? Is that what
I think so, yeah.
I like it. So tell us, where can you get it?
This beer right now is available in all of our markets, so basically in close to 40 states.
Okay, so you spread it across all the other New Belgium one?
We did, yeah. So, but here in town, I mean, you can get this at probably just about any bottle shop in town, and it's on draft now. Okay. So, and certainly down here in the tasting room at the brewery. And then we'll see. Everybody was excited on their side and our side to do something else again down the road. So we'll see. Basically very approachable beers. This one is a little bit big. It's about 6.2%.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
so it's got a little whoop to it.
Cool. Well, it's for a good cause and it's a good beer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, man.
Yeah.
That beer was delicious. New Belgium's Ben & Jerry seasonal collaboration will be in stores for at least the winter months, so make sure to grab one. But only if you're 21, like me. Aw, snap! All right, well, that's all the time we have for you tonight. Have a great weekend, Rams. Don't forget to watch our CTV shows next week. We only have a few more shows left this semester, and that is sad. But have a good one. Good night.